Hi, my name is Nicole, and I'm recording this because my spirit is restless and I'm called to something. I don't know if this is exactly what God wants me to be doing, and if it's not, He'll let me know. I'm called to a very specific group of people. I know that group of people, and those are the group of people that are going to watch this if this is His will. So we're going to just have at it. I am called to a very broken group of people. That's where God wants me. That's where my passion is at. And those are the people I want to serve. And I don't know how to serve you, except for through a video, because I can't find you. I can. I mean, they're all around me. Even if it's just one person at a time, even if it's just one shift at a time. I work peds and patient psych, so it's just right now it's 4 a.m. and I'm driving for Uber, and there's no pings, so I'm bored. So I figured, you know what, God, now's a good time for you to do work. I warn you, I smoke. You know, have at it with the comments. You know, but anyway, it is what it is. And I cuss, and I just burped. So this is about as real and raw as it's gonna get. I don't need any fancy filters. I don't need to hide anything about myself. I don't need to anything, you know, because I'm not worried about judgment. I'm not worried about anything, really. Except for my own shyness, my own insecurities, but all that's kind of irrelevant because, I mean, I'm gonna do what I'm told to do irregardless of anything, so, you know, it all is what it is. Let's see, I don't even know where to start, except for you need to know that there are people out there thinking about you. I might not know your name, might not even know who you are, but I'm thinking about you. Thinking about you all. And if I had $1 million, and this is something I think about a lot, if I had, somebody wrote me a check for $1 million just because, whatever reason, to daydream, so reasons are irrelevant. If somebody wrote me a check, what would I do with that money? I would buy a house somewhere, I don't know, wherever he wanted me at, in the woods somewhere, maybe in New Mexico, Santa Fe National Forest, or Fort Bragg in Jackson National Forest, somewhere. And I would take in foster kids. I was a foster kid, and I would take them all in because I know what kind of love they need. I was a rat's kid. I have CPTSD, you know. I know what it is to be broken. And I also know what it is to take those broken parts, those pieces, and stitch them back together and become whole. Kind of like the Velveteen Rabbit. I mean, it's cheesy, but it's a nice thought. But I would love them however they needed to be loved. But I would understand. I understand the rat's kid. You know, the kid with reactive attachment disorder. I get that. I was a rat's kid. I get the kids that like to steal, the kleptos. I wasn't necessarily a kleptomaniac. Well, I was there as a teenager for a little while. I stole cigarettes and whatnot from the store. Pills. I sold pills. Cortisone. Anybody out there ever did cortisone back in the 90s, early 2000s? I did those pills a lot. It's cold and flu medicine for people with high blood pressure. Yeah, I shouldn't teach anybody how to do that. That's stupid. But anyway. I was raised by a borderline mother in a very broken family. And for a long time, as a teenager, I always wondered why. And as a teenager, when I'd ask these questions, I didn't really have a relationship with God, so my whys were because I sucked, because I deserved it. And that path always led me to a suicide attempt. I had two at 13 and 14. Pretty serious attempts. And how I'm still here, how I'm still alive is God's grace, dude. God's grace. And now I've lived with suicidal ideation most of my life. Except for now, instead of it being a loud engine revving in my mind, now it's a quiet, dull purr, hum that I don't even hear anymore most of the time. So, there's a difference between ideation and actual plans, so don't freak out on me. And try to hunt me down, find me over the internet to have somebody do a safety check at my door. It's cool. But God, I keep thinking my entire life there has to be a point, there has to be a reason. Because it can't just serve me alone, because it was so horrible, but it turned out to be big, because I learned so much. I feel so free, so loved. You loved me enough to pull me out, to bless me every day, to reveal yourself in such giant ways. I can't be for just me. I can't just be to serve me. My life, my experiences isn't just mine. It's for anybody that needs to hear it, for anybody that wants to see it, and for anybody that needs me to share it with them. I'll share. When I got pregnant at 16, my mom, she was sick. She was mentally ill. She kicked me out and I ended up in foster care. And I got out of foster care with my son. To turn 18, age out, and to have your child immediately put into your custody. I always thought that was pretty big, And it was, I guess. But at 19, 20, when I had 2 kids, that's when the work really started. That's when I was found. I allowed myself to be found. I was homeless. What had happened is I had married my foster mother's nephew. I went from my family secret to foster care to living another family's family secret. And I've always been a fighter. And I got out of that situation. And it took me to rock bottom. But sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order to move up. You have to completely wipe out anything that would eventually probably kill you. And that's where I was, homeless, rock bottom. My kids were with family while I sorted my mess out. And that's when I went to church. And I couldn't fight it anymore. I couldn't find that God. I couldn't fight God at the back of my mind anymore. Come this time, I didn't believe in him. And I did. I don't remember how much it was. I don't know if it was 20 or 100, but it was the last of what I had. And at this point, I was on autopilot. I was completely surrendered. because my way obviously landed me at the bottom of the barrels, so my way wasn't working, so we're gonna try something else. And I was on autopilot and put my last little bit of money in the offering plate and put my knees on the ground, and I fell hard and I just surrendered. And it was a magical moment. It's kind of like I was carried up to that altar. I don't even remember walking. I remember floating, being carried. And when my knees hit that floor, there was someone beside me immediately. And she goes, I know what it was like not to have a mother there for me either. And this woman, I didn't know her. I mean, she'd probably been watching me, because at this time, we had just moved. My mom moved us all out of state, running away. I didn't know her, but she probably knew me. She'd probably been watching my situation from the sidelines, and I didn't realize it. And that's cool, because at that moment in time, it's exactly what I need to hear. And I heard it. And me being such a strong-willed, all-in kind of person, I went all in with God. And I got me a mentor. And I started over from scratch as an emotional infant. And I re-raised myself. And when I had my, and I'm 35 now. This all happened when I was 19. And so, you do the math. I've been working on this for a very long time. And, healing from a childhood diagnosis of RADS, an adult diagnosis of CPTSD, which I've probably had CPTSD since my dad died at 11. Just because of the way he died, it was traumatic. He committed suicide. And I've come full circle. And this video is my full circle. If you knew me, you'd understand why this is full circle, because my biggest symptom ever, my entire life, the one thing that's been consistent my entire life, is my fear of people. And here recently, this past 2 years, because my second marriage fell apart. I married, I've been married twice, and each time I married my trauma. I did. In my second marriage, I married my mother. And so these past 2 years, I've completely isolated myself, cut myself off, and, by proxy, my children. Well, I've cut us off from the world completely. We were 100% alone. And that's not how God wants things. That's not how God wants me, anyway. So he forced my hand. Sometimes not so gently. Everybody wants to think of God as this gentle father, but that's not really necessarily the case, because he's who he needs to be to each individual, because we're all unique. And for me, I needed him to be kind of an asshole. Yeah, God and I have had these discussions where, like, God, you're a jerk. You know what? Screw this. But at the end of the day, even though I was kicking and screaming, I was still delivered to where I was supposed to be. And I learned the lesson I was supposed to learn. My mind, I might be stubborn and strong-willed and a strong personality, but my mind always stays open, even when there's 10 fingers pointing at me saying, you need to change. And I know they're right. I know I need to change. I'm still gonna fight it, just because that's my nature, that's my will. And but my mind stayed open, and I finally conceded, and yeah, this needs to change. And so I changed, and I reached out, and I said, hey, I need help. And some days I felt like a pathetic beggar. Some days I felt like it was just, growing up, my mom would always use things against us. If she brought us a Coke, she'd use it against us. Anything given to you is ammunition. is something to be used against you in the future. And that's why I had a hard time reaching out to people. Because when are they going to use it against me? You know? Who am I giving ammunition to by asking them for help? And this past year, 2 years, I've learned by a couple different friends, a church, a couple churches that I've reached out to. And I've learned that that's not normal. When you reach out for help and somebody helps you, it's not normal for them to come back a year later and use it as ammunition. I was floored because this specific friend I'm thinking about, and these couple specific churches that I'm thinking about, none of them have come back. And, well, I did this for you. You got to do this for me. Holy shit! It's not normal, and it's normal. Anyway. And here I am, before I am, looking for, any repeating, or the couple homeless guys that I know that hang out in this area at 4 a.m., or I'm looking for someone to serve, because that's how I fill my cup, and I want my cup, and anybody that does anything for anybody else, it's always something that's self-serving. That's just the truth of it. There's not one person that can come at me and say, I give selflessly. You're not God. No, you don't. People give so much. Those that give away millions and write checks for millions, whatever. Joyce Myers can't even come at me and say it's completely selfless. No. There's a cup that needs to be filled. And the bigger your cup, the more you need, the more you're going to serve. That's just law of attraction. That's nature. That's how this world works. And I'm going to tell you right now, my cup is huge. I need to be filled so much because I have so much broken in me that I'm going to put in the work to get that filled. And the more I need, the more I got to put out. Oh, that's not dirty. No, that's not what I meant. No. My point is, what you need is what you're going to put out into the world, consciously or subconsciously. What you speak with your mouth is what's going to come back to you. The universe hears it. God hears it. Satan hears it. So I'm speaking love because I need love. I want everybody that's so lonely and broken to feel an ounce of love because I need an ounce myself. I'm speaking health, emotional health, because we're in uncertain times and we're all scared. We are all so scared. But we can't live in fear. And I'm speaking emotional health because that's part of my cup. That's what I need. I need peace. And if I'm going to get any peace, I have to give peace. I have to speak peace, and I have to be peace. What else am I going to speak? Happiness and joy. If I want any of that in my cup, I got to speak it to you. I've got to bring you joy. I've got to bring you laughter because I want some of it myself. And for those that are out there lonely and sad, hiding their feelings because the world has told you that you're not supposed to be vulnerable, not supposed to cry. All you men out there listening, I tell my kids at work, and even my biological kids, I always put the two together. I consider my work kids my kids. But They're all teenagers. And they'll come at me and say, so-and-so makes fun of me if I cry. They tell me to shut up, man up. And I get so pissed off. Fuck that. If you want to cry, fucking cry. That's the most manly thing you can do. Don't hide your emotions because our society is broken. Rise above that brokenness. Because to show your emotions, to, vocalize your emotions, voice your emotions, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. To cry, that's the most manly thing you can do. That's the most womanly thing you can do. To be vulnerable, to be honest, to have your mind open. There's healing and growth in that. And I want healing and growth. That's what I want. I want truth and I want peace. I don't want my brokenness to define me. I want to stitch together my brokenness and let me define it. Let me determine which direction this shit goes in. Because it doesn't have power over me. I have power over how I respond to it.